Okay, we are recording. Tom Ward, how are you, mate?
Hello, Stu. I am. Are you recording visuals as well as audio?
I am, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I just want to explain I'm wearing sunglasses because I am very tired, um, and I look terrible.
I mean, actually like the shades seem to coordinate with the vest quite nicely.
Yeah, no, I think the shades look great, but underneath, I'm a haggard man. I'm a
I mean,
haggard.
you
I've had a baby three
you
weeks
just had
ago,
a
so
baby, haven't you? Yeah. How's
yeah,
that?
it's all right. He's got colic.
Oh man.
Freya, my partner, is in the other room dancing with him because we discovered he likes really loud music, and he just goes completely chilled. So he stopped crying and he's just in there. She's just dancing. We were just listening to duets.
Love that.
And
Love
now
that.
she's listening to Left Field really loudly.
Nice. Tom, I'm going to ask you for your first track, and we always kick things off with the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro, please.
Um, it's quite a hard one, this, isn't it?
Everyone says this is the hard one.
There's so many. I don't want to be obvious. I don't want to say like "Welcome to the Jungle,"
Hmm.
although I do think it is everything you want in an intro. I want to be really alternative so that your listeners think I'm really cool. And I want to say "Letter to Memphis" by the Pixies
Nice.
because the intro is great, but the song is crap. Um, "If I Had a Tail" by Queens of the Stone Age, but I don't listen to them anymore because he's not very nice. "Where the Streets Have No Name" by U2.
I think every time I hear that, I think that might be the greatest intro ever.
Yeah, yeah. It's that fading in thing that 80s
Mm,
songs would do. That thing where you can hear it coming, and it just gets you going
mm,
slowly, and you're like, by the time the vocals come in, you're in an absolute state, clucking for a verse.
yeah, yeah. But what are you actually? What is your choice? What are you going to go for?
I'll probably say "Where the Streets Have No Name." Yeah,
Yeah,
"Where the Streets Have No Name." Just
it's
because it's so
interesting
unapologetically epic and sincere.
because there's a tiny little delay on this chat, Tom. I don't know if that's me or you. It might be me.
Shall I move to another room because
It
I'm
might be
I'm at
you.
the other end of the house in order to what I might do is go upstairs to the attic if you want to pause recording and I'll just move operations.
We can just chat as you walk if that's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a laptop rather than
that's cool. The
yeah.
visuals, the visuals are not a big concern, but
All right.
let's chat you too.
Okay.
Why you stroll? Um, are you to a band that you're into?
Yeah, I wish I wasn't because it's just not cool at all.
It's not cool, is it? But I don't know. I don't really know why. I know Bono's a bit of a knob, but like I do think that his art far outweighs what a bit of a knob he can be.
Do you want to see a baby? Sorry, do you want to see a baby dancing?
Yes, I do.
Oh, he's asleep now. Look, this is all. This is the only thing that gets him to sleep. All right, I'm
It'd
gonna go
be
into the bedroom.
amazing.
All right, here we go. Is that okay? It's very dark now. What I'm gonna do is just lift the blind. Sorry about this. It's very unprofessional.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. It's
It's
like a
really
little
hard.
kind of mini game of treasure hunt. I'm just
Find the reception and find the
exactly.
area. There's no
Yeah.
baby crying.
And I've just noticed that your vest has the letters KLF on it.
Yeah,
Are you a big KLF fan?
I like the KLF. Yeah, I like Bill Drummond. I think he's cool. I think
He's a dude, isn't he?
he's on his own trip
Yeah.
in a very pure way to the degree where I'm not sure if he does it for anyone or ever has.
Mm.
It's all about his impulse, what he wants to do in that given moment, which I really like.
Have you read the manual, Tom?
No, but I've read 45,
Mm.
which I thought was great.
Yeah. It's a bit special, and I I've got a mate, and who's my best mate actually. He's my oldest, longest. We've been pals sort of 45 years now, and he's I wouldn't say he's a comedian, but he's a musician type comedy. He's called Cunt and the Gang, and he's been sort of chart bothering these last sort of 3 or 4 years at Christmas with sort of different songs about Boris Johnson and Prince Andrew, etc. And he tried to replicate the workings of the manual in recently, the last few years, to see how they sort of still transcend the fundamentals of it to having a hit record. And obviously he did have, I think he's had 5 top 10 hits.
Amazing.
And reached out to Bill Drummond, and Bill Drummond wrote him a letter just saying, like, this is fantastic what you're doing. And so yeah, getting that kind of pat on the back from Bill Drummond, that's pretty good, man.
That is nice. Did Bill Drummond ask if he could borrow some money?
I think like Bernie is.
Yeah, that's nice. That must be nice to have people benefiting from stuff that you did 35 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Kind of validate.
I want to kind of lean on the kind of correlation between music and comedy. And whenever I've had sort of comedians on here, I've always kind of asked this question. It's a bit lame, but I'm interested to know. I mean, I know not always comedians don't always walk out to music. If you do, have you got a song of choice? And secondly, when we're talking intros, like if you look at Streets Have the Name being an opener on Joshua Tree, it's like going in big. Like,
Yeah.
is that how you start a set? Do you go in big, or do you just kind of sound it out and then kind of build up? What's your sort of approach to that, Tom?
Well, intro music, I'd always have indie. When I did Live at the Apollo, I had Shine On by The House of Love,
Lovely.
who are my favorite indie band. Um, so yeah, so I wanted to have Destroy the Heart, but apparently that's a bit too, I don't know, it was a bit too niche, so we just went for Shine On. Um, yeah, I think you got to start strong. I read a great quote from Damon Albarn where he said, that you don't have to come out with a bang. You can, it's more of a gentle seduction. You got to have faith in yourself to not have to come out all guns blazing, that you can trust that they will come with you. But I do think in music, like generally speaking, you start strong and then, and in comedy, you've got to come out with a strong joke, especially if you're doing a club and you're basically playing to people who haven't seen you before, who need to kind of feel reassured straight away that you're all right, that you're good. And also, it just helps if you get them straight away, then they're on side, and then that means you can take them to the places you want to take them later, which are a bit more niche or personal, where you need them to be warm. So yeah, I do feel like I have to start strong. Yeah, I don't want to fanny around, get a hair joke out quick
Tell
before
me,
someone else shouts it.
tell me the first song that you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please, Tom.
I think it was probably the score for E.T. Because that was the first film I remember feeling like I wanted to cry. So I think the score for E.T. But in terms of like pop song, maybe Buddy Holly, True Love Ways, or Listen to Me, one of those love songs. Because we used to have Buddy Holly playing all the time in my house, and The Shadows, um, Post Cliff. But yeah, Buddy Holly, I think probably in terms of a song, and then maybe My Girl by the Temptations would have got me just because I think I saw the film when I was very little. But yeah, those were the ones that sort of brought a tear to my eye and new emotions that I wasn't familiar with.
That's quite mad you said that. The first record that my mum stopped and said, "Why are you okay?" was True Love Ways. It made me cry. It was the first record that made me cry.
Wow.
Hmm. I don't know what it is. It's quite a simple song, and I think it just his voice it just cuts through. And yeah, it's a oh what a beautiful record True Love Ways is.
Yeah, yeah. The orchestration. It's an unusual turn of phrase as well, which I always think makes a song extra mysterious.
Yeah.
Gives it that kind of otherworldly quality where you feel
Mm.
like you're in some other universe, in some other time zone, on someone else's imagination.
What where was it that you that you grew up, Tom, and was growing up, was home a musical place?
I grew up in Wimbledon, and then we moved to New Malden. So it was quite a there was a shift going. There was a big because my dad was born again Christian, and he wasn't very good with money, so he was always trying very hard to keep up a lifestyle that we couldn't afford. So it was quite it was a weird one because he was like so Christian at one point that he actually banned music from the house, anything with a beat. So because he thought the devil, you know, all that classic thing of the devil is in the music. I didn't really understand what that meant. I kind of do now, as in like it makes you want to go out and shag people at bus stops or whatever he thought teenagers would do. But so we were allowed to listen to Enya, uh, but that was about it really. And Handel, we listened to Handel. So there was a very grim period of about a year where there was no beats.
How old was you then?
About 10. But either side of that, it was Beatles, Shadows, Buddy Holly, Paul Simon, Simon and Garfunkel, whatever tape I bought from R Price. So that would have been like Michael Jackson, Dangerous, Bryan Adams, Waking Up the Neighbors, which was my first album that I ever bought. I listened to it as part of the preparation for this. It's absolutely terrible.
What's on that one?
Everything I Do for You.
Right,
which
right.
is, you know, brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
But then there's just every song is just, it feels like it's been written like while he's in the studio at best. Do you know what I mean? It feels like computer generated lyric based on what they think Bryan Adams would say, but it's so bad. I'm like, no, surely not, because Bryan Adams' first album is actually really good.
Is Reckless the first one?
Yeah, it's really good. I like it. It's got like 5 or 6 bangers on it. But the second one, oh my god, it's there's a song on it. What is it? Tonight is all we've got, or something, or it's just, yeah, so many cliches. It's like, what is it? I may not have. What is it? I can't stop the driving rain. I ain't Superman and I can't fly, but I won't stop me. Was it that won't stop me, baby? Don't even try. It's just horrible.
That's pure David Brent.
Yeah, yeah, just like, yeah. But yeah, there was music in the house, but it was complicated because of the whole religious stuff. But there was a kind of sweet quality to the music my dad liked. It was quite innocent, sort of pre-rock and roll, but sort of just the beginnings of rock and roll, and that kind of bands that would smile,
Yeah,
you know, and move in time. That kind of era before the Beatles.
and you know, as much as, you know, Cliff's you know, a bit of a wally, but people forget, like, Cliff and the Shadows, when tracks like Move It come out, you know, this is before the Beatles. This is, you know, he was, Cliff and the Shadows were like the best we had for rock and roll, and it must have been really exciting at that point. You know, obviously he went on to become a little bit chicken in a basket, but you know, I think people don't credit him so much for his early rock and roll stuff. I think he was up there with the best of them for the first few years.
Well, I didn't really ever listen to the Shadow stuff he did, but my mum used to love his solo albums, so he would always, that would be blaring around the house.
Mm.
Wired for Sound and She's Just a Devil Woman with Evil on Her Mind, all that stuff, and Christmas time. Yeah, so that was the 80s Cliff.
I'll tell you what, right? There was a period, I can't think who the songwriter and producer was, but Devil Woman, I think it's Wired for Sound, Carrie, and We Don't Talk Anymore.
Oh, great song.
We Don't Talk Anymore. Literally, I was having a conversation the other day and it come up, and I gave that a spin. I'll tell you what, hitting half a banger. It really holds up. We Don't Talk Anymore. It's a proper good pop song. I didn't think this podcast was going to go here today.
You can tell we're comfortable with ourselves. Getting
Absolutely.
vulnerable quick.
Tell me about the song that reminds you of your time at school, please, Tom.
Um, Depends which school, but I would say everything I do for you. Definitely for Kit being little. Wonderwall by Oasis for high school when you're going to house parties and trying to work out how to kiss girls and watching everyone else do it and just feeling sad and walking home early usually. Um, Crazy by Seal maybe.
Hmm.
I love Billy Idol. Billy Idol was massive during my teenage years. So like Rebel Yell or Don't Need a Gun or White Wedding, Fleshful Fantasy. I listen
Eyes
to
Without a Face. What a tune that is.
whoa, brilliant song, amazing song. I just love it when an artist is still very raw and just giving it a go in various ways. You know that thing of just all right, we're going to try this today. We're going to try a ballad with a French backing vocal,
Mm,
and the video is just going to be my face moving towards the camera very very slowly for three
yeah.
minutes. And that was the video, and it's like cool, and it works. And that
Mm.
thing of in White Wedding where he's dancing around, there's a ballerina dancing around in a kitchen while all the white goods explode, and then they cut to the church and they're walking down the aisle, and all these kind of like post-punk zombie-esque street gang people in the crowd all watching on as they come down the aisle, and there's a barbed wire ring that gets put on her finger and a cutaway of her face gasping and blood dripping from her finger. It's just so interesting. And then I think a sort of singer or a band find the thing they think people want, or they have that, they're after that explosion of energy where they're got all this shit to get off their chest and all their a life of feelings and pain and euphoria and ambition has come out, and then they're just sort of plodding away with chord progressions that you can predict and choruses that feel by numbersy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's that period where, like, I think someone like Billy Idol was kind of a bit of a joke because he was a punk, but he was pop. But he every song is just different. And then there was a great cover of Moni Moni, and there's kind of corny stuff, and then there's that kind of sleazy rock, and then there's Rebel Yell, just one of the greatest rock songs ever. Just like purrs, like it's like an engine. Do you know what I mean?
Dance
Start
With
to finish.
Myself is an absolute banger.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
uh, yeah,
Great video
he's
as
an
well.
absolute dude, man. And I think what he managed to do was somehow go from that kind of that Bromley contingent and then kind of do Generation X, and then all of a sudden become like a legit rock legend in the States, which not many of them punks managed to get over there and sort of carve out a career like that. And yeah, he's absolute dude.
Yeah, and his videos were the thing, weren't they? That's what made it for him because
Mm,
he just embraced music videos so strongly, and he delivered. He turned up. Do you know what I mean? Some bands are a bit apologetic or a bit shy, but he was like, "No, you can look at me,"
mm.
and that's what people respond to. I think. I think in America especially, they're like, "Oh, cool, you're the front man, you're the singer, you're giving it, and we'll give it back."
You wanted to study leather glove, right? I did.
You said that again.
Did you want to study leather glove? Because I know I did.
I used to wear fingerless woolen gloves. I'd cut off the fingers and wear just one, and just do that all the time. I'd be on the 156 bus from Wimbledon to Vauxhall and on the way to going clubbing when I was like 16 or whatever, and just snarling to myself.
That's probably why an hour later you was walking home early, not learning how to kiss girls and just
I
feeling a bit miserable, mate.
was in my own little music video, and they were like, "What are you doing, man? Why are you
Do you
living
do
with
that
your own
though?
hand?"
Do you do that? Do you when you're like wandering around, like do you picture yourself in a music video?
Yeah, or a film or a scene in a movie. Yeah, I want it all to be very stylish
Mm.
and stylistic. I want the scene to be right. But life has a habit of underwhelming you and putting you in quite sort of humdrum experiences where you're like, nah, the hero of the film shouldn't be in Waterstones having to give his email because the book's out of stock, having to say it twice because she misheard Tom, whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, come on, man, let's cut to
Mm.
the next bit, which is annoying because you can't. You have to sit in every bland little moment.
How was school? Did you enjoy it?
No, I didn't enjoy school. I hated school.
Why was that?
It's just, I think because of the religion, it sort of meddled with my head, so I couldn't really.
You went to a religious school then?
No, my parents were so religious that I was kind of, I like my head was just full of religion, so I didn't really know how to interact with people and make friends, and then I wasn't really allowed to swear because if swearing was a sin, so I wasn't able to banter back. So if someone was shit talking me, I had to just sort of take it or try and come back with a kind of Christian banter, you know. So it kind of clipped my wings in terms of finding myself. So sort of school was a bit of a shit show, really. Got suspended, got expelled from one school for just playing up. Um, just kept getting kicked out of class. But yeah, had a year off at one point just because yeah, I just couldn't handle it. So school was just like this. Yeah, couldn't wait to get out, really.
Did you
But
go
yeah,
to college?
I tried, but I dropped out. Didn't do uni or anything. By the age of about 15, I was like, right, I'm going to be a rock star and come back and show all these fuckers. Do you know what I mean? I was like, my revenge was going to be that I was going to be Bono or David Byrne or someone, just come back and show them. And that was my fantasy from about 15.
It's. Do you think there's a lot of people that have that strange desire inside them 20, 30 years later to still kind of show them kids from school?
Yeah, I think so. I think for people that hated school, and it's almost like if it was bad enough, if you felt trapped enough, you never quite get over it, do you? If there's a moment where you're stuck in a traumatic moment, I don't know how you get over it. You sort of have to kind of time helps because you're further away from the moment, but you never fully recover from the claustrophobia and the feeling of wanting to escape and the desperation to get somewhere else that's always in you. So I feel like you are like I bumped into school friends from back in the day recently. One of them came to my show and she was really sweet to me and wanted to be my friend and stuff. But I look at her and I just have like PTSD from the '90s where I just associate her with terrible loneliness. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like I look at her and I go, oh, you want to be my friend now, but you didn't want to be friends at school. There's part of me that almost wants to punish her for not. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird one.
Yeah,
Even though she's a 40-year-old woman now, and she didn't mean me any harm, but there's a part of me that's still like, do you know what? Fuck you. I remember '98 saying hello to you, and you didn't give me the time of day. You know, or in my head, some cool kid who said something mean, and I'm thinking what I should have said. Or, but if you walk past teenagers now, they're like children. It's like I'm angry with a child. It'd be like me being angry with some kid who walks past me now in his blazer and his tie, and some little virgin who's pretending to get action. When he goes to school, he's like, yeah, 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 just lying little teenagers who live with their mum. It's like, how can you be angry with someone whose mum pays their rent?
yeah. You mentioned that at 15 you decided you want to disappear and become a rock star and come back and show them all. Um, did you know what you wanted to be at school? What did you want to be a musician?
Yeah, I didn't care for school. I didn't care for becoming anything except for a singer. So I just did shop jobs or bar stuff, bar work, or waiting, or charity fundraising on the street, whatever. Just anything like low status work. But in my head, I had a plan the whole time to get in a band.
Did that happen?
Yeah, I did get in a band when I was 25, 26. Went to America, got a demo together, just met some people in a
Right,
bar.
hang on, rewind that. Right, you can't just go. I got a band together. I went to America and done a demo. Like I was in bands for years. I never just like up sticks and went to America and recorded a demo. Like, how do you go from getting in a band to going to America to record a demo? Because
All right,
normally
so
you just all chip in and go to a little studio in wherever you live and put a
but
demo together that way.
I went to America. So before the band, I
Ah, got
went to
yeah.
America. So I was I used to run a charity shop, and so I was living in the charity shop secretly to save money in the basement. And when I was like 25, I saved up a few grand, and then went to New York for a week, and then Austin for 3 weeks, and then to New York again for about a month. And then in that time I met people, and they said, oh, you should go and meet my mate Eric. And Eric was this like 19-year-old kid who lived in his mum's basement and lived with his ex-girlfriend. They still shared a bunk bed, which was strange. But he played all the instruments. So I had this demo in my head. I had this song in my head called On the Shelf. And I met him. I went to Long Island to meet him, and I did an impression of how I heard the drums, the guitar hook in my head, and then he helped me turn it into a track, and then that became my demo, my song with me singing on it. And then when I came back, used Gumtree, looking for a band, found a couple of guys called Chris and Danny who were best mates from Grimsby, and they had similar influences to me, like Echo and the Bunnymen, New Order, Pixies, and so we met up, and we were in a band for 2 years.
Where was this? You said Grimsby, then that's from.
They were in London, yeah, but they were
right,
in
London.
Grimsby, yeah. So we were in London, and we were rehearsing in New Cross. With our mates were the guitarist and bass player from the Savages,
Right.
So Aisha and Gemma, they were in a band that we would hang out with and play with. And yeah, we rehearsed for a year, made about 8-9 songs, and started playing live, and it was great. It was really exciting. It was absolutely thrilling to be doing it.
What was the band called?
Church of the Drive-Through Elvis, which was a B-side by Manson. Terrible name for a band. Terrible. I wanted to call it. I think we needed to call it something like Plastic, or something catchy that captured the sort of I don't know, surf guitar meets indie. It was quite a mix of 60s surf guitar and 80s kind of bass, like Echo and the Bunnymen bass. Big vocals.
Was you a big fan of Manson then?
Not really, but it was a B-side from Wide Open Spaces, and they thought that's a good one. That's a good name. So, but yeah, it's very different to what you think. When you have planned to be in a band, you kind of picture yourself on a big stage playing to 50,000 people. You don't really know what it takes. The van, the lugging your gear upstairs in pubs, the dynamics in the band itself. They were best mates, the guitarist and bass player, so it's like I'm entering into their world. Drummers being late and the strain that flakiness puts on a band, and just how hard it is to get a fan base and get seen, and but really keeping the band together when it gets tense and gets like you're pulling in different directions and different members have more ambition than the others. All that stuff you don't really know about until you get there.
Are you driven?
Yeah, very driven. That was part of the reason why they kicked me out, because I was pushing too hard.
Really?
Yeah. We'd hit a rough spell. We weren't coming out with any new songs, and all our songs felt a bit contrived, like we were almost replicating the sound we already had. Lyrically, I was a bit like, what am I saying? We put a lot of energy into 7 or 8 songs, and then it was like, okay, well, now what? But yeah, I was driven. Really wanted it, but they were more hobbyists, which I couldn't really understand because they were so brilliant. Guitarist was a genius. Could play any song from hearing it. Could dismantle his guitar, tell you what each part does. Proper talent. Just didn't have that need. So he had his office job, and I think he still does. Which I just don't understand. If you're talented, I just don't understand people that are happy to play in a pub every few months. It just doesn't make sense.
There is a big divide, though, isn't there? There are people that are happy to be in a covers band and just do that a couple of times a month. And I think I don't get it. I don't understand session musicians either. I don't understand what joy you can really get out of that as a creative outlet. I think you're just, you're on the back of someone else's bike. I think the idea is for me, was always about coming up with something and putting it together. And the way that you described formulating that song when you went to America, that's basically how I operated in my band. I was like, look, I've got these songs because I've been a DJ for so long. I kind of knew what made people move and respond, and I was like, right, this has got to do that. This has got to do that. But I was very average at any instrument I ever picked up. I could never front it, but I had the ideas, and I had, like, stupid amounts of drive, and I think you can't make people like as driven. Like you say, that them people in your band that are really talented, if they're not that bothered, you can't make them be bothered. I tried so hard to get people in my band to give a shit as much as me and go, look, we can do this, and you just can't. And in the end, it becomes another thing that you have to deal with, is trying to sort of fire up other people as well as your own creativity.
Yeah, and then you sort of feel you can feel how they experience you. You start to feel aware that you're somehow a slave driver, and it's like, oh, I don't want to be that. I want all of us to be gunning for this.
Mm.
But everyone has different feelings. Some people are scared to commit because it's scary.
Yeah.
Because then if it doesn't work out, then you're vulnerable, aren't you? You're exposed, which is which I get. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of slave drivers in music, aren't there? In music history, someone with a vision, dragging everyone along with them and saying, no, 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 come on, another take. And bringing in new instruments and mad sounds. Someone like Jerry Dammer's famously difficult. But I'm like, well, but the result. Look at the result. That kind of attention to detail. I'm like, I get it. What's the point? Why are we here if we're not being specific to what we want? I love that. That thing of chasing what you hear in your head. Isn't there a rumor that the guy from the Lars is still remixing the album? He's just still not quite happy with it. It's still in his room.
I've got to be honest with you, like the Lars and the amount of people that have come on this podcast and referenced the Lars, and I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, and everyone says that album's up there with the best of them, and it just doesn't cut it for me. I don't know why. And everyone, Lee Maps is a genius, and and he's there's clearly an interesting story to him. Do you know what I mean? He's he done the right thing. He didn't go on and form Cast. Do you know what I mean? Like, he managed to swerve that. But but I mean, am I right in saying that the Libertines joined the Lars for a while? Like, from what I gather, I think
like McBusted.
Like, yeah, exactly like that. Yeah,
Lars.
yeah. No, but I believe that the Lars done some shows, and I think either Pete and Gary or a couple of them joined the Lars, which is slightly surreal.
Something to do.
What was the first record?
Supergroup. Is that a supergroup? Would you call that a supergroup?
I guess so.
Who's the best ever supergroup, Stu?
The best ever supergroup.
Who's the best and who's the worst?
One of the best supergroups, REM played a secret gig at the Borderline in the early 90s. And they played the gig under the name Dingo Handjob. And it was REM, Robin Hitchcock, Natalie Merchant from 10,000 Maniacs, and Billy Bragg. That's a pretty good night out.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how Billy Bragg and Robin Hitchcock sounded together. Because I read a book recently to describe Billy Bragg's voice as like a pair of Doc Martens dropped into a bin. About says it, doesn't it? And then Robin Hitchcock's got that kind of English, and it's that nasal 60s. Yeah. Went to Cambridge, but you can't be sure.
Yeah. What was the Hitchcock? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love Billy Bragg. I think he writes some of the most beautiful love songs ever. Tell me what the first record you ever bought was, please, Tom.
First single or first album?
Single, please. You mentioned the album, didn't you?
Yeah, Brian. But I was 9. Come on. All right. I bought M People, Open Up Your Heart. Either that or Louis Armstrong, We Have All the Time in the World. It was re-released from an advert. I think it was in a beer advert, maybe Guinness or...
Yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah, it was around the same time I thought, oh, I can buy my own tapes. So I went to WH Smith and spent probably what 199 on both of those. Still got them.
Nice.
Yeah, so I don't know which one was first, but probably M People.
Tom, I know you said at the beginning of this podcast you had some questions, and you asked me what my super group would be. I can't move on until I've asked you that question back.
What? Who are my favorite supergroup?
Mm.
There's not. I mean, it's definitely not the Good, the Bad, and the Queen. I think they're the worst band ever. I think they're so bad. I can't understand how Damon puts it out. I just think he wants to hang out with Paul Simonon,
I mean, I get that.
which is great, and the drummer, I forget his name. But yeah,
Was it
I
Tony
don't.
Allen?
I think it is. Yeah,
Mm.
incredible lineup, but just awful. I think so. They're my least favorite. It's probably electronic.
Mm.
I can't really think of any others that I. It's definitely not that Generation Sex.
Oh God.
Again, it's just a bit. Come on, what are we doing?
Electronics. That's a great shirt. Absolutely
Yeah,
great shirt. And I mean, we've got to talk about getting away with it because that's not just uh, Barney and Johnny. You've got Neil Tennant as well. I mean,
yeah,
that's as close to a perfect pop song as you're ever going to get. Getting away with it.
yeah.
What a gem that is.
It's a strange song as well. It's like slightly juddering, and a little bit. Oh, it's not. Doesn't flow. You know, some songs are a bit like. Oh, it doesn't have that kind of smooth transitions, but it still works.
Yeah,
But Pet Shop Boys, unbelievable band.
they're in my top five though, mate.
Yeah, disco kind of disco suburbia, isn't it? It's kind of like taking the humdrum, like the Smiths, taking that humdrum existence and turning it into something epic and grandiose,
Yeah,
pompous.
absolutely. Absolutely. I went. I actually flew to Scotland to go and watch him in Dundee just because it was cheaper to go and get a ticket to go and see him up there. And
Nice.
honestly, it was only a few years ago, if that. Greatest hits tour. Fucking hell, man! They've got a lot of hits, and they're all fucking great. Pulled my eyes out to Rent. Like, what a record
Mm.
that is. Oh,
Yeah, they have to pay royalties to Cat Stevens, don't they, for one of their melodies?
oh really?
I think it's a sin. It's a melody rip-off of Father and Son, I think.
Do-do-do-do. Yeah, it would be Father and Son, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they have to give him money. They have to pay royalties to Yusuf,
Wow.
as to the Flaming Lips for Yoshimi battles the Pink Robots. Her name is Yoshimi. I don't know which one that is. That's a rip-off of. It might be. It's not time to make a change. There's a Flaming Lips song where they had to give 1/11th of the album sales to Cat Stevens.
Wow.
So he's still got some cash coming in. Yusuf, don't you worry about him.
Let's um let's go clubbing. Tell me the song that soundtracked your year's clubbing, please, Tom.
I would say probably it would be Leftism by Left Field. So it would have been one of the songs on there, maybe Space Shanty or Inspection, um, Afro Left, uh, or maybe Goldie, something from Timeless. Um, there was also a song, I don't know who it was by, but it was like, touch her in the morning, last thing at night. It's a brilliant song. Move a little higher. I don't know who it was, but it's the closest song to coming up. You know, like that when you listen to like house, you're like, oh yeah, this is what coming up feels like. You can feel your blood coming into your head. The build, the build, the build. But yeah, there's something from Leftism. Great album.
Yeah, yeah. That was literally playing next door, wasn't
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
it?
could hear
was
Johnny.
you a big clubber?
Yeah, I was. I love clubbing. I used to go to gay clubs when I was quite young, 16 to 19. Then I found like depressing suburban nightclubs, Kingston and Wimbledon. Hang on, Stu. My battery's about to die. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move again. But if you can just stay with me, I'm going to grab the plug. Can you hear me all right still?
I can, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Let's see if I can get this plugged in before it dies. It's hard to do stuff when you're trying to stop a baby crying or dance with a baby, or making sure the duets that are on are the right type of duet. There was a couple of like German folk duets that were threatening to come on, and I was like, no, get it on Charles and Eddie, quick, get it on Phil Collins and is it Philip Bailey?
Oh, glorious! Yeah, I've just finished listening to. I don't know why. I listened to Kathleen Hanna's book, and it was a pretty heavy listen. So I decided to treat myself to Phil Collins, which was actually really good. I was thinking this can't be that interesting, but I'd highly recommend Phil Collins's book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it quite bitter? I imagine there's a lot of snarkiness in there.
There's about 4 failed marriages, all of which he seems to just take no accountability for, and try to get everyone to feel sorry for him.
Right.
And but yeah, I mean, it's just interesting hearing him talking about all the kind of overblown nonsense of the mid '80s. But yeah, it was good. Yeah. It was a good little read. What gay clubs was you going to like back then?
I went to GAY and Heaven and the Fridge. So Heaven and Fridge were like housey, GAY was poppy. So yeah, but that's when I was doing, a few naughty extras instead of alcohol. I would be going to Heaven and Fridge.
So
and trash in Vauxhall. I think, was it Vauxhall?
Yeah.
Trash. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, Trash was more kind of that hybrid of electronic and kind of indie sleaze.
Oh no, I think that's Trash. That's in Farringdon, isn't it?
Trash was in Farringdon, yeah.
I'm thinking of Crash. Crash in Vauxhall.
Oh, I don't know.
So Crash was more of a, I think it was a gay place. I can't remember. There was a mix, but it was back in the day where pills were £2 and you could smoke indoors.
Yeah.
So you just smoke 15 fags.
So you used to have the kind of the indie night of pop stars at Scala as well, didn't they? That was.
I never went there.
Yeah, it was a good night out. So did you then sort of get into the indie sort of club thing, or was that before?
That was later. So yeah, in my early 20s, I'd go to Candy Box and White Heat. Oh man, I loved it. I found my thing more than ever when I was like 20, 21. And
what do you mean by that? You found your tribe?
It was that going to it, walking in the door of Candy Box, which was I think just off Tottenham Court Road, and it was like a mirrored stairwell down to a basement, and you'd come in and you'd hear, like a guitar hook, and you'd see girls with fringes and people wearing ties and little leather jackets, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is my people. That feeling of, oh, they're playing Talking Heads, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this feels like home to me, and just getting on it, getting absolutely lashed. There'd be 2 bottles of San Miguel for £3. You pick up a flyer from someone outside the Tube, that would get you in for probably the same. And then you just dance and dance and dance all night. And I remember dancing all night once at Candy Box. And then the following week, a girl came up to me at Barfly in Camden and said, "Oh, you were at Candy Box last week?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she'd been watching me dance, and I was like, "Oh, cool." So last week, me was doing some work without me realizing. And then she kissed me, so I was like, "Cool, yeah." No, I really did smash it last week. Clearly. It was that was probably one of the highlights of my life, along with
That's glorious.
at school. Yeah, and she was the daughter of the guy in Manfred Mann, the keyboardist. So claim to fame there, Snog, the keyboardist's daughter from Manfred Mann.
Story just gets better, mate.
Don't like to bring it up.
I'm going to take you home for this track, and I want to know the favourite song from an artist from your home county, please, Tom.
Home county. Okay, I didn't see the word county, so I'm gonna. Home county is London, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're spoiled for choice, mate.
Can you give me some suggestions? Because I didn't see the word county.
Don't worry, Tom. I've done 500 and about 535 of these now, and 525 have had this problem. I need to put county in massive bold letters because everyone thinks it's country. We can go with country, mate. What, tell me what you would have gone for country.
Oh, it's so hard, isn't it? I mean, come on. Favorite song? I think it has to be a song that you've listened to the most, doesn't it? Even if you don't listen to it anymore, you've got to be honest about a song that you've probably listened to 500 times, a song that you've put on again and again and again. I would say it could be something by Tricky, because Maxine Peake was just basically on loop for 10 years. It could be something by Talking Heads off their first live album. The name of this band, I just love that. Stripped back sound of like 60 people and him going, "This is a song about a building." Down, 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 down. It's just so completely bare. Oh. It's not going to be Roachford, though Cuddly Toy is a classic. Oh, jeez. It can't be U2 because they're from Ireland, Dublin, unless we go back a few years. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so House of Love. I think it's going to be something by the House of Love. But that feels underwhelming because most people don't know them.
I do.
I think they're so good.
Yeah, they're amazing.
They got 5 huge albums that no one knows, and I can't understand why.
They played my club in the early 90s, and there was barely anyone there, which was a travesty. Lost a lot of money on that show as well.
Yeah, I think they're one of those bands that self-destructed, and maybe Guy Chadwick was impossible.
I think he was one of them people that is quite difficult to work with.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably full-blown arsehole.
All that, yeah.
Which is a shame, but the quality of the songs are maybe the side effect of his genius and his vision, but the longevity of the House of Love as a household band, probably the other side of him. Oh God, can I come back to this?
Of course you can.
For a minute.
He's still out and about playing though, Mark Chadwick, isn't he?
Who?
Like House of Love. They're still out and about.
Yeah,
doing...
He's back. Chadwick. Yeah, he's playing with sessions. So it's like, okay, and they were brilliant, and they play the songs faithfully, and he sings them faithfully, and it's incredible to see him. But yeah, it's weird to think that the rest of the band aren't there. It's a bit strange, isn't it? It's a bit underwhelming when the rest of the band aren't there. It's like what's Claire Granger? Is that her name? Grogan. Altered Images. It's just her now.
Yeah.
It's like I do love these songs, but it is weird.
Yeah.
When all right, I'm gonna say Stone Roses. I Am the Resurrection.
Full version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, a great intro.
Yeah. It's also a great record if you're an indie DJ and you need a piss. That Unloaded, mate. They get you out of trouble.
Yeah, great. Start unzipping as the trumpets come in.
Absolutely. Great shout. Well, look, for the last track, Tom, I'm going to ask you to tell me and the listeners of the podcast a song that you think many of them may not know that you would like them to hear.
I think a song that I'd love your listeners to hear is Feel by the House of Love. It's just so, it's almost like a dance song, but it isn't. But it's just got the smoothest groove. And I just feel that they always make me kind of emotional, the House of Love, just because I feel like they're a band that should have been bigger. And to know that they were putting out such brilliant tunes even when they were on their way out is somehow a bit tragic to me and a bit of a waste. But the song is an absolute, it's just brilliant. The bass line, yeah, Feel by the House of Love.
That's a great tune. We make it easy for people to go and listen to that, Tom, because we put together a little Spotify playlist of all the songs that you've spoke about today.
Nice.
So we can go and check that out. Well, we've spoken about a lot of other artists. Let's talk about Tom Ward. What's happening? What's coming up? What are you up to?
I am currently getting ready for Edinburgh, which I'm doing in August, and then from September onwards, I'm doing a tour of the UK and a couple of dates in Ireland as well, one in Dublin, one in Cork. So yeah, the tour starts on the 20th of September. The show is called Choose Your Delusion, a little nod to Guns N' Roses and to social media and how everyone's fronting, or I don't know, we're all playing a game of who we are, who we want to be, how we want to be seen. Um, so that's the show.
And if people want to find out about tickets and where they can see it, where's the best place to keep up to speed with you, mate?
You can go to my website, tomwardvoice.com, or you can find me on Insta, Tom Ward Comedian. Those are the two, those are the two places I'll share content if you want to see any little videos or little bits and pieces of me dancing with the baby.
Wonderful. Well, if it's all right with you, Tom, when this drops, we'll tag you in it on Insta. So if people aren't following you already, then they can go and do so. And we'll put the website address in the show notes of this episode, so people can go and find out about dates and such. Tom, it's been an absolute delight talking records with you, mate, and you chose some absolutely solid tunes. And Bryan Adams, it's been great.
I just want to be honest with you, man. I don't want to,
Do you know what, mate? Honestly, like the second ever episode of this podcast I done, Tom, was with Russell from Block Party, and I think the first record he bought, I thought he's going to say something really wanky here and try and be really cool, and he went Stiltskin. And I just thought, mate, if that's a great place to start this podcast off, Ax. I just thought, wow. If Russell from Block Party chose Stiltskin, no one can give us any bollocks now. You just got to be honest. And so, yeah, it was great.
It just makes everyone relaxed, doesn't it? When
Absolutely.
Someone drops that in, it's like,
absolutely.
Okay,
no one was listening to fucking obscure John Peel fucking B-sides from his show. Like,
Brian
it wasn't happening when you was 9 years old. Come on.
Yeah. And if it was, then that's just sad. That's
sad. It really is. Right, Tom, I'm going to press stop, but don't go anywhere.
All right, Stu.